The seat switch, her phone buzzed once, then again. The third time it was a video, her husband, kissing someone else in the hospital where their baby just died. But none of that mattered now. She was standing in the VIP lounge of the airport, gripping her carry-on bag so tightly her knuckles turned white. The cold marble floor beneath her felt like the only solid thing in the world. "Ma'am, could you please switch seats? There's a white passenger who insists on sitting here," the flight attendant said quietly but firmly, nodding toward the window seat. Naya didn't move. The woman's voice dropped. "It's just for this short flight, please." Naya's heart pounded. She looked at the white woman waiting behind the attendant. She smiled politely, but there was something cold in her eyes. The woman's designer handbag rested on the empty seat next to Nia. "Excuse me," Nia said, voice shaking but steady. "I paid for this seat. Why should I move?" The attendant's face tightened. "It's a request from another passenger, ma'am." Nia swallowed hard. The old anger surged inside her, the anger that never left her since the hospital, since the loss, since the betrayal. She shook her head. "No." The attendant sighed and turned to call the supervisor. Nia felt the eyes of the entire lounge on her now. Whispers began to spread like wildfire. Some stared with sympathy, others with judgment. The supervisor arrived, a tall man with a clipboard. "Ma'am, I understand this is uncomfortable, but if you don't move, you might have to deplane." Nia's breath caught. Deplane? Here? On a crowded international flight? She shook her head again. "I'm not moving." The supervisor's eyes flicked to the woman who wanted her seat. The woman smiled, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The woman's phone buzzed, and she glanced at it briefly, then looked back at Nia. Suddenly, Naya's phone buzzed again. She glanced down. A message from an unknown number. "We know who you really are." Her fingers trembled. Before she could react, the flight attendant returned. "Ma'am, please, we can't delay the flight any longer." Nia's vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. She had come here for a fresh start, to escape the heartbreak that had followed her for months. Now she was trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake from. A voice in the crowd whispered, loud enough for Nia to hear, "Just move, it's not worth it." But Nia squared her shoulders. She would not be pushed aside. Then the lounge door creaked. Open, a man stepped in, tall, sharp-eyed and holding a phone. The murmurs grew louder. Is this the passenger causing trouble? Nia's heart pounded as the man's gaze locked on hers. He raised his phone, and the entire lounge fell silent. "Watch this," he said. Nia's blood ran cold. The screen showed a video, a camera's shaky footage of the woman who wanted Nia's seat, talking with the supervisor, whispering urgently. Then the video cut to the supervisor taking an envelope, slipping it into his pocket. Nia's voice caught. "What is that?" The man looked at the supervisor, then back at Nia. "Bribery. They've been trying to buy their way onto this flight and offload you." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The white woman's smile disappeared. She glared, then stormed out. The supervisor paled. Nia's phone buzzed again. Another message. "Leave, now or you'll regret it." The man stepped forward. "Ignore that. We're here to protect you." Nia blinked, confusion mixing with relief. "Who are you?" she asked. Before he could answer, the lounge's big screen flickered. Breaking news flashed across it. VIP passenger removed from flight after racial dispute. Investigation underway. The crowd erupted into whispers. Nia felt her world spinning. She looked down at her phone. The video from her husband still playing silently. Her life had shattered in ways she never imagined. And the fight was only just beginning. The call that changed everything. Nia's hands shook as she stared at the phone in her palm, the screen still showing the video of her husband kissing another woman. The cold light from the airport lounge's overhead fixtures seemed to mock her pain. turning every heartbeat into a hammer striking her chest. The man who had stepped in moments ago stood beside her, a calm presence in the chaos. "We don't have much time," he said quietly. "You need to come with me." Nia blinked up at him, confusion swirling with fear and anger. "Who are you?" "My name's Marcus. I work with an organization that handles cases like yours. You're not alone in this." Nia wanted to scream. She wanted to run. She wanted to disappear. But something in Marcus's tone, steady and serious, made her hesitate. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. "Because what's happening here is bigger than just a seat on a plane," Marcus replied. "There are people who don't want you to tell your story." Nia's stomach twisted. "My story?" "Exactly." Outside the lounge, the airport buzzed with activity. People moved quickly, unaware of the drama unfolding behind the closed doors. But Nia felt every pair of eyes that had watched her in that lounge burning into her skin. "Let's get you somewhere safe," Marcus said, pulling out a small card. "Call this number if you're ever in danger." She took the card, still unsure if this was a trap or her only lifeline. On the way to a nondescript black car waiting just outside, Nia's mind raced. The video on her phone, her husband's betrayal, the whispering in the lounge, the bribe caught on camera. How had her life become a series of cruel traps? As the car pulled away from the airport, Marcus finally began to explain. "There's been a pattern lately. Women like you facing discrimination, harassment, even threats. And it's being covered up." Nia's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean, covered up?" Marcus hesitated. "The airline you flew with is involved. They've been silencing passengers to avoid scandals." Nia clenched her fists. "So they try to buy their way out of it." "More than that. If you speak up, they'll come after you," she shuddered. "I just wanted to get on a plane and go somewhere, anywhere, without all this pain." Marcus's gaze softened. "You're stronger than you know, and you're not alone." The car stopped outside a modest apartment building. Inside, a small group waited, diverse faces full of quiet determination. "This is the team," Marcus said. "We help people like you tell the truth." Nia looked around, feeling both out of place and oddly hopeful. One woman stepped forward. "We believe you, and we'll make sure your story is heard." Nia nodded, a lump forming in her throat. Days passed in a blur of interviews, messages, and sleepless nights. The story about the seat switch went viral, but so did a wave of hate, from both strangers and familiar faces. Her phone buzzed constantly with threats, warnings, and worse. One night, as she sat alone scrolling through her messages, a new text arrived. "Stop digging or you'll lose more than your seat." Nia's breath caught. Who was watching her this closely? Who wanted to silence her? Then came the call. Her phone rang. No number, no name. "Hello?" she answered, voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. A cold, unfamiliar voice whispered, "You're in over your head. Walk away now." Nia's fingers tightened around the phone. "Who is this?" No answer, just silence. The next morning, the news exploded again. A whistleblower had come forward, revealing secret payments by the airline to hush complaints. Nia's story was no longer just about a seat. It was about a system built on lies and cruelty. But with every step forward, the shadows grew darker. Late that night, as she lay in bed, Nia's phone buzzed once more. This time, a message. "We're closer than you think." Fear clutched her heart. Who was watching? Who was coming? And would she survive what was coming next? Shadows in the night. The message haunted Nia's thoughts like a dark cloud. "We're closer than you think." The words repeated in her mind, cold and relentless, a warning and a promise. She had never felt so vulnerable, yet never so alive. Her small apartment felt less like a refuge and more like a cage. She kept the blinds drawn tight, the locks bolted, and every noise outside felt like a threat. Days earlier, she had never imagined that a simple seat on a plane could shatter her world. Now, that moment felt like the start of a war she hadn't signed up for. A battle for truth, dignity, and survival. Marcus and the team worked tirelessly, gathering evidence and preparing to expose the airline's corrupt practices, but with every new piece of proof came more threats. The night before an important interview with a major news outlet, Nia found her door cracked open just a few inches. Her breath hitched. Inside, nothing seemed touched, but the message was clear. She was being watched. She called Marcus immediately. "We need to move," he said, voice low and urgent. "They're getting bolder." Within hours, Nia was in a safe house, a modest, quiet home far from the city's prying eyes. Here, she met others who had faced similar betrayals, stories of discrimination, cover-ups, and broken lives. They were a secret family, bound by pain and hope. One evening, as Nia prepared for bed, her phone buzzed again. This time, an unknown caller. Her heart pounding, she answered. "Who is this?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. A woman's voice answered, soft but firm. "You're stronger than you realize, Nia. But be careful. Some secrets can destroy everything." Before Nia could respond, the line went dead. Nia's mind raced. Who was the mysterious caller? An ally, an enemy, or someone else entirely? She didn't know, but the warning stayed with her like a shadow. The day of the interview arrived. Nia sat across from a reporter, the cameras rolling. She told her story with a voice that trembled but never broke. She spoke of the seat switch, the bribe, the threats, and the deeper corruption she had uncovered. The world was listening, but just as the interview ended, Nia's phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "You're playing a dangerous game. One wrong move and it's over." She swallowed hard. That night, sleep was impossible. Memories of her husband's betrayal, the loss of her baby, and the growing danger surrounded her like ghosts. She wondered if she could keep fighting, if the truth was worth the price. Then came the knock at the door. 3 sharp, forceful raps. Nia froze. Who could it be at this hour? She peeked through the peephole. No one. But on the doorstep lay an envelope. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. Inside was a single photograph, a picture of her, taken just moments ago, standing at the safe house window. On the back, a note. "We're always watching." Terror and rage burned inside her. They were closer than ever, but so was her determination. She wasn't going to back down. Marcus arrived moments later. He looked grim. "We need to find out who's behind this." Together, they began to unravel the web of lies and betrayal that surrounded them. But the deeper they dug, the more dangerous it became. Names surfaced. Powerful people who would stop at nothing to keep their secrets. Late one night, as Nia lay awake, a shadow moved outside her window. A figure slipped away into the darkness. She knew then the fight was far from over, and this time survival meant more than just courage. It meant uncovering the truth, no matter the cost. The web tightens. Nia's breath caught as the shadow slipped away into the night. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from the fierce determination that had been growing inside her since the beginning of this nightmare. She wasn't going to be a victim, not anymore. The safe house felt more like a prison now. Every sound, every flicker of light made Nia's nerves taut. She barely slept. Every waking moment was filled with dread and resolve. Marcus sat across from her, his face tense. "We're close to exposing them," he said. "But they know it too." Nia nodded. "Then we need to be ready." That morning, an unexpected visitor arrived, a young woman named Lena. She was nervous, but her eyes held a fierce determination. "I heard about your story," Lena said. "I want to help." Nia studied her carefully. "How?" Lena took a deep breath. "I used to work for the airline. I saw things that would shock you." Nia felt a flicker of hope. Finally, a breakthrough. Over the next few days, Lena shared what she knew. She described secret meetings, hush money, and threats to silence whistleblowers. She talked about a hidden network within the company, people willing to destroy anyone who threatened their power. Nia's stomach twisted. The problem was bigger than she thought. Meanwhile, the media frenzy continued. Supporters rallied behind Nia, but the hate grew louder too. Her social media was flooded with insults, death threats, and racist messages. One night, Nia's phone rang. Again. This time it was her mother. "Are you safe?" her mother asked, voice trembling. "I'm trying," Nia said. Her mother's tears were clear even over the phone. "We're proud of you. Just be careful." Nia closed her eyes. The weight of it all pressed down on her. Then a shocking discovery. One of Marcus's trusted contacts was leaking information to the opposition. Betrayal. Nia's world spun. She confronted Marcus. "Who can I trust?" she demanded. Marcus's face was grave. "We're cleaning house, but it means we have to move faster and more carefully." The pressure was crushing, but Nia refused to break. She decided to hold a press conference, revealing everything she had uncovered. It was risky, but she needed the world to hear the truth. On the day of the conference, the room was packed. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Nia stepped to the podium, heart hammering. She looked out at the crowd and spoke with raw honesty. She told them about the seat switch, the bribes, the threats, and the corruption hiding behind closed doors. She named names. She showed evidence. The room erupted in chaos. Some cheered. Others shouted her down, but Nia didn't flinch. That night, as she lay in bed, a new message appeared on her phone. "You should have stopped when you had the chance." Suddenly, the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Nia's heart pounded. As the phone slipped from her fingers, in the silence, she heard a faint creak. Someone was inside the safe house. The intruder darkness pressed down like a heavy blanket, swallowing every inch of the safe house. Nia's breath caught in her throat as the faint creak grew louder. The phone slipped from her fingers and hit the floor with a soft thud. Her eyes darted toward the door. Was someone really there? She hadn't heard any footsteps, only that single noise. But fear settled deep in her bones. Her heartbeat echoed in the silence. Suddenly a shadow moved outside the window. Nia froze, barely daring to breathe. The figure was gone in a blink, but the message was clear. They were closing in. Marcus burst through the door moments later, phone in hand. "Nia, we've got a problem," he said, voice tense. "Someone tried to hack into our secure servers. We think they're after the evidence." Nia swallowed hard, the weight of danger more real than ever. "We need to move, now." The team scrambled, gathering laptops, documents, and whatever they could carry. Lena stayed behind to secure the data. "Be careful," she warned. "If they find us here, it's over." Outside, rain began to fall, the sky dark and foreboding. In a whirlwind of movement, they relocated to a new safe house, deeper underground, with no digital footprint. The air was heavy with tension, but also with a fragile hope. That night, Nia sat alone in the dim light, scrolling through the messages that had haunted her for weeks. Suddenly, a new message appeared on her phone. "You think you're safe? Think again." Her hands trembled. As she read the words, someone was watching her every move, waiting. The next morning, Marcus shared troubling news. "The airline is mounting a counterattack. Fake stories, planted evidence, even legal threats." Nia clenched her fists. "They want to destroy you." Then came the betrayal that shattered everything. Lena was gone. No one knew where she had disappeared to. Marcus's face was grim. "We think she was taken." Nia's heart sank. Her ally, her friend, someone who had trusted her, gone. The pressure was unbearable, but Nia refused to give up. She prepared to release the last piece of evidence, a recording that would expose the highest levels of corruption. But just before the release, her phone rang. The voice on the other end was cold and unfamiliar. "We know what you're about to do. Stop now, or the consequences will be worse than you can imagine." Nia's world tilted. But she made a choice. She would fight. She posted the recording online. The response was immediate: outrage, support, and a tidal wave of attention. But victory felt hollow, because in the shadows the enemy was waiting, and the next move would be deadly. The truth sets her free. The tension in the safe house was unbearable. Nia stared at the screen, the recording she had posted still fresh online. Millions had watched it. Millions had listened. The corrupt officials, the airline executives, everything laid bare. But the threats hadn't stopped. If anything, they grew fiercer. She felt the weight of every threat, every insult. But beneath the fear was a deep, unyielding fire. She would see this through, no matter the cost. Marcus paced the room. "They're desperate now, trying everything to silence you." Nia looked at him, tired but resolute. "Then we'll expose every one of them." Days later, news outlets picked up the story. Investigations were launched, arrests were made. Lena was found, shaken but alive, rescued from a safe house where she had been held captive. Nia's heart ached for her friend, but soared with hope. The airline executives were forced to resign. Lawsuits piled up. The company faced its darkest days. And Nia? She began to heal. She found strength in the support of strangers and friends alike. She discovered that losing everything had stripped away the lies she told herself. One evening, she stood by a window, watching the sun set over the city. Her phone buzzed a message. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to find who you really are. She smiled, tears in her eyes. The woman who once stood her ground over a seat had stood for so much more. Her story was no longer just about betrayal or pain. It was about survival, justice, and transformation. And as she looked ahead, Nia knew one thing for certain: she was free. The end.